Okay, now I'm going to show you how to change all these seals step by step. Let's go. Alright guys, we got a 60 horse Yamaha 4-stroke here. And what's going on here is there's a little hole that'll show up in there. There's a little hole right here. Factory hole for letting your water run out so it doesn't freeze in the wintertime from up above in your motor. But I got oil coming out of this hole. So we're going to take a look and see if this roller unit is holding water. The water's heavier than oil, so they're probably getting water in here, pushing it out that little hole there. Alright, let's get started. I'll go get a flathead screwdriver here and one here. So let's get started. This is going to be a video on how to change the shift shaft seal and the shaft seal. Stay with me. And on a quick note, the reason I knew that oil was coming out of there, when we go to remove this to put the boat in the water, this would have oil all over it. So that's how we recognized we had a problem. What we want to find out is if there is water going to come out of this. See how milky that is? Shade there. Definitely got water mixed with it. It wasn't that color when I put it in there, that's for sure. So we definitely have a problem. We'll get the rest of this drained out, and then we'll need a 14 millimeter to get these two bolts out on this side and right here. And then I'll be pulling this cover right here. I'll be pulling this rubber seal and getting this bolt out. Alright. Okay, I reinstalled these screws back in so I don't lose them and the oil won't run all over the place while we're removing this. We'll break each one loose together so they all come off evenly. I'll try not to scratch my motor up too much while I'm doing it. We're going to remove this rubber piece here and get to this bolt here also real quick. And usually you can just pull these out with your finger, it's not that big of a deal. And if that'll show up on the camera, there's a bolt right down in there. Okay, and the bolt down in here is going to be a 12 millimeter, whereas these were 14. So just remember that, 12 here, 14 millimeter here. Okay, then when you get this bolt all the way loose, then we can slide this piece out. Just like so. And make sure you hang on to this stuff. There's our rubber plug and our block. So, alright. We'll get that bolt out of there and we'll keep going. Now this is going to be 12 millimeter too, but this is a very important step. You want this to be exactly where it is right now. So we're going to just take this marker and we're just going to put, if it'll show up on there, we're just going to put a line right here because we want it exactly in that same spot. Very important to do. Alright, let's keep going. The reason we are taking this off is because there's another bolt right there and we got to get that one out. And this bolt here is also going to be 12 millimeter. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and remove our 4 bolts. and then we'll be ready to drop this lower unit off here. Alright. Just be patient on your project here. I gotta get this boat back in order because the walleye season's coming. And if you guys like fishing videos, maybe consider subscribing while you're here. Alright, there's one. This is number 2. Alright, there's number 3, and there's number 4. And she seems to be pretty solid on there, so we're going to need both hands here for this project. And we're going to drop that lower unit off here. Let me set this camera up, and I'll show you guys how easy these are to take off. First of all, I'm just going to give it a little bit of, just a little bit of a shake here. Yep, look how easy that was. See that crack right there? That's what we wanted. Alright, we're already broke loose here, and I don't want this to fall, so what we're going to do is we're just going to wiggle it, and it's just going to come right apart just like so. Just like so. Now see right here, this is our speedometer cable. We have to take care of that first before we can drop this lower unit. All I did was unspin it, and now we're ready to remove the lower unit. But don't forget this, because if you break that, yeah, you don't want to be having more problems. Okay, the lower unit is off. If you will take note here, I had a couple old bar stools. I went and got 4 clamps and 2 2x6s. That way I can work on this really easy, and I don't have to worry about it falling or nothing. Alright, let's keep going. It looks like some oil around the shift shaft. So we're going to replace that seal on the shift shaft, and while we got this apart, we're going to go ahead and put a new water pump in it. Okay, before we start anything here, we're going to clean all this up and make sure it's good and clean. And I got a kit here from Yamaha, the dealer. This whole kit was like 45 bucks, and it comes with everything you can see here. Alright, these bolts here are going to be 12 millimeter also, so let's pull them off. And there's our water pump. Man, this thing is dry rotted too. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that definitely needs to be replaced. Look how bad that is worn. Here, I'll show you the difference in these two water propellers. Take a look at that difference. I mean, wow. So it's a good thing we're going in to change the shift shaft seal, and while we were in there we decided to do the water pump also, and man, look at the difference in them two there. I mean, this thing is like dry rotted. Okay, and then when we pulled our cover off, You can see this seal has some corrosion right here, so we'll be replacing that seal also. Alright. Very gently. Don't lose your pin here. We got the kit did come with a new one, so we will be using the new one. Nice and easy. There's a little gasket under here, and we're going to be replacing the gasket also. Now the kit did come with a new one of these, so we will be using that also. This gasket doesn't look that bad, but we are going to replace it. Move there and clean that up a little bit. Man, the sand and stuff in there happens when you run these motors. Bottom them out in the river. Get all that sand and stuff in there. We'll get that cleaned up real good and we'll be right back. I want you guys to look at this right here. It's a little baby snail. I do a lot of perch fishing on the Mississippi, and those perch feed on these little snails, and one of them ended up in this lower unit. If you guys like those kind of videos, perch and walleye and stuff like that, remember to consider subscribing. This is the shift shaft, so we want to get that seal out and put our new seal in. Right here. Alright. We'll pull this little rubber seal off. We gotta save this because the kit did not come with this little seal, this little rubber gasket here. I don't know why the kit didn't have that, but it did not, so we will reuse this little rubber seal. Alright, so we got our old one off, and there was oil around this, so that's why we're changing it, because oil was coming. And we'll slide the new one in like so. We'll make sure that's all nice and clean. Looks pretty good in there, but tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give that a little extra cleaning in there. Just to make sure there's no sand or debris or nothing like that in there. We don't want nothing in here. Alright, so we got our new shift shaft seal in, so I'm just going to take a little piece of pipe and just tap it down, make sure it's good and tight. Perfect. Okay, this one is showing a little bit of wear right here, and it did come with a new one, so of course we're going to use the new one. And we got our new O-ring. We're going to replace that. Looks like some corrosion right there. We're going to clean that up. And if you look in here, this has got some wear on it too. And they did send a new one of them too, so we're going to replace that also. We're going to replace the impeller housing also. We'll get that out of there. And change the gasket. I mean, you can see the wear on this, so we definitely want to change that. Everything kind of seized up here a little bit, but we'll just be real patient. Just work it out of there. Wiggling it back and forth until it wants to come out of there, and we'll put the new one in. Plastic, so don't be in a hurry. Almost got it. And there you have it. And we'll pull the O-ring right away. And we're going to clean this up, and we'll be back in a minute. Alright, we got it all cleaned up. It's about as good as we're probably going to get it. I mean, it ain't got to be perfect, but it just looks pretty good. And this only goes in one way because you got your little lip there. But what we'll do is, before we put this in, let's go ahead and put our O-ring in. Perfect. I'm going to drop this guy in. And there you have it. We're ready to put the impeller in. But before we do that, on the shift shaft here, don't forget to put your little O-ring back on there. There you go. Perfect. Alright, we already have our gasket in place. So then we want to put our metal plate on. There you go, that looks good. And our washer looks like it's lined up because there's a groove in that washer. So you want to make sure that washer lines up with this groove. Just like that. Well, we already put the impeller in here, so we knew it was going the right way. I used the old one as a reference. So we'll put the car key back in. That. And then the car key, you can't put these on wrong. There's a slot there, and I marked it there so I can slide it on here and match that up. Hopefully pretty good. Close that for safety. We'll match that up. Just like so. Alright, then we'll turn it to match, because this little groove right here needs to be in the back to match up with this groove. We already have our O-ring in there, so let's drop that on there. It should be pretty. There's a little pop top right here, and that's got to go in that groove right there. So if I got it like so, and that lined up perfectly. Alright, so now just taking a look around, looks like we got everything back in order, and we're ready to put this back together. Now remember, this is just plastic, so you just want to snug them. there you have it. Your shift shaft seal. Let's get this back on the motor. My poor Yamaha. She's ready to hit the water. You guys gotta subscribe while you're here, or at least considering it, because I fish all winter, and that's why I needed to have this fixed, because you sure don't want water in here when you're out there fishing in 25 degrees, catching walleyes or whatever we're doing. You want to make sure you're up to speed. Alright, let's get it back together. Okay, we're ready to put this back together. I got about $45 in parts, and they quoted me between $250 and $300. So the seals are changed. Let's get this back together and go fishing. Don't forget to consider subscribing if you like walleye videos, perch videos. And again, thanks for watching. Let's get this back together. Well, we're all done. My little makeshift table there, I'd say worked out pretty good. Held it in place while I got the work done. Let's get it back on there. We just got to hook the speedometer cable up. You got to be very careful with that because it's just plastic. You don't want to break that. Alright, I got the speedometer all hooked back up. Now remember, when you pull this lower unit off, don't forget about this, because this is just nothing but plastic and a piece of rubber hose. You don't want to break that. Alright, we're ready to put this lower unit back on. Remember, be patient when you guys do this stuff. I don't mind doing this stuff because, I mean, you call the dealership and they're 2 weeks out, and man, when you want to go fishing, you just got to do it yourself. And when you put these back in, just run them in a little ways and then snug each one of them evenly, because this is nothing but cast aluminum and you don't want to break it. This part here is very important. Remember earlier, we put a little mark right there. So we want to line that mark up. So it'll show up in the sunshine there. There you go, right there. So I want to line that up and then tighten it up right there. There we go. Perfect. We have our last bolt right there. We'll put this back into it to make sure everything lines up perfectly. And then we'll run the bolt through it, tighten that up, put our plug back in, and we're good. There you go. This project is complete. Alright guys, while I get cleaned up here, I just want to thank you guys for watching and coming along with me on this little adventure. We're going to put oil in the lower unit because you do not want to forget to put your oil back in your lower unit. Don't forget to subscribe while you guys are here if you like walleye videos, perch videos, crappie videos, whatever. Hang around a while and let's go fishing. We'll see you guys on the next one.